And there's a brother named D.L. Hughley.
Yep.
And until he take accountability, I won't let it go.
What?
Because, what was you getting ready to say?
I was going to say, what did DL do?
Let me tell you. I do DL's radio show.
Yes.
D.L. Hughley is not there. His team is there. And Shannon, we having a great time. I mean, baby, we having a great time. We going forward, back and forth. When we get to the end of the show, they say, Monique, you want to play a game? Well, I want to play. I said, sure, sugar. Let's play a game. And it's a game called Would You Rather.
Oh.
Okay? Now.
Monique, you should have said I'm too old for this game.
Wait, so here we go. They said, Monique, we want to play a game of Would You Rather. Let's go. Would you rather your husband sleep with Lee Daniels with a condom or Corinne Steffens without one?
Really, Monique?
Now, as y'all are watching right now who haven't heard this story, y'all going, they doing the same thing in the studio. They going, okay. That is exactly what happened. I'm like, just let me get on the phone with my brother, right? Yeah. Hey, DL, yeah. I said, listen, I just got off the phone with your team, and they wanted to play this game, Would You Rather? And it was like, stupid. Like, asking me about my husband and Lee Daniels and Corinne Steffens, and his exact words, well, that's how we do it.
Every time I see Monique these days, she's on doing some greasy-ass video with her and her daddy complaining about something or working out. I don't know nobody that work out that much and gain weight unless every crunch you do has got Captain in front of it. But apparently she goes on Club Shay Shay and tells the story about how she came on my radio show and I wasn't there at the time. And my co-host Jasmine Sanders played a game that we played all the time with everybody called Would You Rather. She apparently was so offended by that. I listened to her and I pulled the segment. So if I had been as dismissive as she alleges I was, that segment would have aired. It didn't because I respected her wishes. She's a liar.
It started out with Monique going off on stage about D.L. Hughley. She called him all kinds of names, said DL stand for he was the man. He was on the DL, called him gay, called him all kind of stuff, insulted his wife, said all kind of bad things about him over a contract dispute because she thought that she was supposed to be the headliner of the show. And she pulled receipts. She threw her Oscar in his face. D.L. Hughley offered an initial response where he said, all you got to do is check the orders of the names on the ticket stubs. And he went on to say that he decided to work with Monique. He just went under the assumption that Tyler Perry was wrong, Oprah was wrong, Charlamagne the God was wrong, Lee Daniels was wrong, Netflix was wrong, basically making an argument that if everybody else is the problem, then maybe it's you that's the problem. Monique responded to that by simply pointing out that if D.L. Hughley had to go to ticket stubs, that means he didn't have a contract saying that he was the headliner. She said she has the contract to show that she is the headliner. So she said, unless D.L. Hughley can produce that, he has nothing. So then D.L. Hughley then produced something. He produced a deal memo and a show schedule that shows that he is the headliner of the show, that he's the highest paid artist on the show, and that he's the artist who approves the lineup of the show, and he is closing the show. He produced documentation that basically showed that he was the HNIC. That's what he showed. That's what he produced. Monique then responded by essentially saying that what he produced was not a contract. It is a deal memo. So what is a deal memo, you may say? Glad you asked. A deal memo is an American term used to describe a document which summarizes the key points of a contract between two or more parties. Deal memos are the precursor to a full contract, which ultimately documents the legal agreement between the parties. So deal memos are important, but they're not exactly contracts. However, they do go hand in hand. So Monique, from her perspective, she's throwing down the ultimate trump card on this whole thing. Why? Because she's producing a contract. Everything that DL is producing is everything except for an actual contract. That's her argument. But it gets a little shaky when DL responds to her contract by pointing out a few things. The deal memo, or whatever he has, it was signed into action on March 29th. Whatever she had was signed on March 28th. And to add insult to injury, is under a company named Hicks Media Inc. You may be asking, what is Hicks Media Inc.? Well, I'm glad you asked. Hicks Media Inc. is Monique's company. Her husband's name is Sidney Hicks. Hicks Media that's her. That's her thing. So that's why D.L. Hughley is saying, he's saying, and quoting, man, Hicks Media Inc.? Hold up. That's you. You really showing everyone a contract you submitted from your own company? I smell BS, and I wouldn't pick it up with the old birth certificate paper it was written on. So long story short, after we go full Johnny Cochran Scooby-Doo detective agency on this thing, the best conclusion that I can come up to is that they both were given separate information. From who, you may ask? I'm going to call it and say that it was a janky promoter in Detroit who wanted to get the event to go down. Monique is using dirty cancel culture tactics against DL Hughley. And it gets even worse than that, because she took another clip of DL Hughley when he was critical of Bill Cosby. He was very critical of Bill Cosby, but he was critical of Bill Cosby in the name of making a larger point that saying that no matter how much we like a man, no matter how much, we look up to him, respect him, and honor and revere him in any way, it doesn't matter. He was saying that if this person did something wrong, we have to call it out and we have to stand in it. And he used the example. He used a tough example of a man who he was friends with. He was close friends with somebody, and his daughter brought up to him that, hey, this guy did something to me. He didn't explain exactly what it was, but he said he second guessed his daughter because of what he believed about this particular man. He thought that his daughter was mistaken about what happened. That's a tough one, and he owned it and said that he can never take that back. But he was saying that he was telling that story of how he dropped the ball to embolden people to essentially believe women when they tell you something happened to him. He was basically making a feminist leaning believe all women argument. But she tried to take that and flip that around to try to say that, look at him. He won't even protect his own daughter. You think he cares about you? This is how he feels about black women. She's going that far into that extreme with it. She's going to that extreme with this thing, all because of a personal contract dispute, which could have been handled behind the scenes. She's doing all this. So I go back to D.L. Hughley's original statement on all of this. He said that she's now proving Tyler Perry right, Oprah right, Lee Daniels right, Charlemagne right, Netflix right. I'm having a hard time remembering everybody that she's had a problem with. Add DL to the list. It's getting ridiculous at this point. She's trying to get him canceled while meanwhile canceling herself.